Welcome to the Generations at Work podcast, where our goal is to build bridges and not walls between the different generations at work. Today, we're going to continue exploring the value of Gen Z team members in the workplace with a special guest you won't want to miss. I'm your host, Susan Davis, Maxwell Leadership Executive, coach, and facilitator. And with us, we have your generational expert, Dr. Tim Elmore. With over 35 books under his belt and one coming out soon, we're continuing our discussion of Chapter 3, The Future Begins with Z. If you are interested in bringing Dr. Elmore's work around how to lead different generations in the workplace to your organization, visit us at maxwellleadership.com/generations at work. And if you'd like to order the book, The Future Begins with Z, you can visit thefuturebeginswithz.com. And there's a lot of value add, downloadables, and bonus materials there waiting for you. Dr. Elmore, welcome, welcome, welcome. And I'd love for you to introduce our guest today.
Yeah, thanks, Susan. Yeah, John Craze is with us today, and John and I have known each other for quite a few years, I think. And we live not very far from each other. And John owns a restaurant that I like to go to. It's a Chick-fil-A restaurant that's in Alpharetta, just north of Atlanta, Georgia. John, thank you for being with us today.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I could think of no one better than you, John. I mean this. When I think of a leader, you and your wife both, who have a large team, mostly young people, not all young, but mostly young people that you just believe in. So if you don't mind, I'm going to throw you some questions and have you just encourage us with your answers. John, you know this. Many employers, not all, but many employers see the downside of Gen Z. They come in a little different and they're a little frustrated. What are some of the differences you've seen at your restaurant with maybe your Gen Z team members?
Yeah, thanks. That's a great question. Yeah, I have to put it in context, I have about 125 employees right now total at the restaurant, and probably 45 or so are high school, college age students. So it's a good number.
Yeah.
Even more interestingly, I have two that live in my house. So yeah, I see both sides. I see trying
Yes,
to
you do.
raise them as well as trying to get them to work at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah, it's interesting. Man, there's a lot of pros and there's a lot of frustrations. I mean, I'm a Gen X, so I have a completely different perspective on things and how I grew up when I was working in high school. I worked at Chick-fil-A in high school, and I remember working there. Yeah, just completely different perspective. I think what I see pretty commonly is a lot of a little bit less loyalty than I think I had when I worked at Chick-fil-A in high school. I think and not necessarily in a completely bad way, just more
Yeah.
I want to experience things. I want to see if this is going to work for me at Chick-fil-A.
Yes.
I want to see if we're going to if this is going to work out and I'm going to love what I do. And you know what, if it's only been 6 weeks and I don't like it, then I'm going to go. And
Yeah.
so, but there's a pro side to that, because if you can get them on and connected with your vision of your restaurant and what you're all about and the why behind what we do for our guests at Chick-fil-A, and you can work around their crazy schedules. Their schedules are so full of sports and activities and trying to get into colleges. I have a senior in high school and we're in the middle of applying to colleges right now, and it's just there's a lot going on in their lives. It feels like a lot. Not that we didn't have some of that stuff back when I was in high school, but it's different now. There's a bigger demand, and so work has to kind of fit in between everything else. And I think if you can do that, then I think I have some really long-term high school students that work for me all the way through high school, come back and work college breaks. At Chick-fil-A, we're able to. I think we pay well, which is obviously very important to them. I think Chick-fil-A has the Chick-fil-A scholarship that we can give, which is another benefit. I also think our brand is just amazing, and
no doubt.
And I think that kind of puts us on their radar, maybe then a little bit quicker than another place where they see like, wow, when I'm applying to colleges or I want that next job and I say I worked at Chick-fil-A, it actually means something.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know,
Those are excellent answers, and I thank you for kind of covering both sides of the coin on that
yeah,
one. There's
yeah,
Mhm.
there's there's two sides. And by the way, there was in our generation too, wasn't there?
yeah, sure,
It's
absolutely,
yeah,
Every
yeah.
yeah.
generation.
Yeah,
Now,
we
So
you know,
I
we all deal with. I'll just one last thing I'll say is I think
yeah,
you know we all grow up in an environment in the world we grow up in, and so we're
yeah,
going to be different. And
yeah,
I don't really expect the same thing out of
good.
this generation that I did my
yeah,
generation,
yeah,
and I'm okay with working through it because you know what? What's the choice? I mean,
yeah, yeah,
I need them as much as I think they need me.
yeah,
And this is our next group that's going to come up and run this world that we're living in. And I want to have a positive part of that. I want them to look back and be like, wow, I learned so much at Chick-fil-A and it's
Mhm.
had such a positive impact in my life.
yes, yeah,
That's what I want. And so it really is a decision to hire high school students because I don't
yeah,
necessarily have to,
Yeah,
but I choose to.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
that's
I love your
there. Yeah, there's some incredible traits with this generation. What are some of those traits that you're seeing? Because you just said I choose to hire them. What are some of those valuable traits that you see in this younger generation?
Yeah, they are, as you can imagine, speaking of my business specifically, y'all are Chick-fil-A customers, I'm sure. You know how busy we are. I mean, their ability to multitask is pretty impressive. I
yeah,
mean,
Mhm.
they they can do like five things at one time, and I'm like, how in the world are you able to accomplish this? It's pretty impressive. I mean, I think that's just they were born with a smartphone in their hand, and
yeah,
so
yeah,
they learned how to listen to a teacher and watch a YouTube video at the same time, and so I think it works really well for us because if I hire a 30 something year old that maybe wants a future with Chick-fil-A, they might not catch on as quickly. I feel like
Mhm.
teaching a Gen Z to be out on an iPad taking an order while a car's moving and repeating the
yeah,
order and doing all the things that we try to do well, um, they catch on pretty quickly, and that can translate into their creativity in the restaurant. If you put them in one spot with one task, they kind of get bored. So I mean,
yeah,
if you can switch up what they're doing within a shift, and maybe they're outside some, they're inside some, they're doing different tasks, and if you can get them involved, I think a really cool thing is if you can get them involved with your social media, they're really good. I mean,
Mhm.
yeah,
they can come
yeah,
up with some really cool just TikToks and post and help us with Facebook and what are the trends because I don't know what the trends are, and so I need their help to tell me what people are actually going to look at when it shows up on their screen.
yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
John, you're reminding me of some of the research that Dr. Raymond Cattell did years ago on the brain. He talks about in our early years, we experience fluid intelligence, later years, crystallized intelligence. The fluid intelligence just makes them quicker learners, which you just
Mhm.
identified, and probably quicker to adapt, which they need to, whether they're doing drive-through or
Mhm.
back of kitchen or whatever. I love the fact that you're seeing fluid intelligence at work for your organization. That's
Yeah.
encouraging.
That's true.
That's
I love to hear that. I mean, I think that really does resonate. I think back when I was in high school and it was we didn't have drive-throughs at
yeah,
Chick-fil-A's
yeah,
that I worked at, and so
yeah,
singularly focused on the register, it would probably overwhelm me going back trying to do all the things that they can do now, but they're just born into it, and it's just part of who they are, and it doesn't even it seems complicated to me watching all the different things that have to happen, but it doesn't seem to
Mhm.
them. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I have a question off script. Please
sure,
forgive me. You
of
can take
course,
the fifth.
yeah.
You just identified drive-through. That went around when you were a kid. It
Mhm.
is now. I think it's a sign of the times. What percentage would you say of your customers are not even getting out of their car and what actually come into the restaurant? Do you know that number?
Oh yeah, it's a great question. I think we're probably, post COVID, we're probably at 65-70% don't come into the
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, we do, you know, I think it's different with us. If I'm going to brag on Chick-fil-A, I mean, we've done over 300 cars in 1 hour in the drive-through, and
Wow.
we have curbside at the same time, and
Yes.
We give you the ability to get in a long line and get out quickly, allow you to stay on your conference call, and get your conference call done while your food's being delivered to you.
Mhm.
Like just we can just do it differently. And so I think, other other places you might, be in the drive-through and you might be like, this is taking forever, and you just might be like, man, let me park and go in. I don't think that's the case at Chick-fil-A. So
Yeah.
Mm.
it's a
Yeah.
big trend to, either have food
Mhm.
delivered to you,
Yeah.
or come to our restaurant and never even enter the building.
Mm.
Yeah.
And the
Wow.
mobile app that you have too, the
Yes.
mobile drive-through has,
Yeah.
which is making me think about innovation, creativity, and
No
there's got to
doubt.
be a reason why there's innovation and creativity here.
What if your book had the expert backing it deserves? Join best-selling author Tim Elmore and a team of publishing pros for their next book in a weekend event, happening February 27th through March 1st, 2026, in Alpharetta, Georgia. You'll get expert coaching, insider tools, access to publishers and editors, and a shot to pitch your book. One participant will even land a book deal with Maxwell Leadership Publishing. Apply now at abookinAweekend.com. Your story is worth it.
You had mentioned this in the very beginning. You said you see they come in, they'll tell you, I don't want to be here if they don't get engaged. How do you get young people? Because obviously you're successful. How are you getting young people engaged at your restaurant so they want to stay and they come back in college breaks and those things?
Oh boy. I mean, I think I think I speak in Chick-fil-A in general. I know I speak for my restaurant when I say that I think we really care about our team. I
Yeah.
mean,
Mhm.
Yeah.
our whole that's what we're about. I mean, this is my 22nd year as an owner operator with Chick-fil-A, and then you add my 5 years in high school and college. I'm getting to 27, close to 30 years
Yeah.
here. And I think from the beginning for me, when I became an owner operator, it was about I knew if I could take care of my team, that my team would take care of the guest.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Mhm.
so I don't mean this in a negative way, and hopefully it doesn't come across that way, but I really focus on my team, and then
Yeah.
they take care of the guest. And I
Yeah.
don't really, I mean, obviously I interact with my guests when they're in the restaurant,
Mhm.
but my focus is on my team. So if I think it also helps if you can give them a great, um, not only environment to work in, but super flexible schedule. We do
Yeah.
Mhm.
schedules for kids where they come in at 4 and they leave at 7, so they have time to do their homework at night, or they
Yeah.
come in at 7 and work till close so they can do their homework after school before they come into work.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's no more of this come in at 3:30 as soon as school gets out, and then,
Yeah.
work till 10 o'clock, and then you get
Yeah.
home,
Mhm.
and then you have no time to do anything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
flexible schedule is a part of it. That's why I have a lot of high school kids, because to fill all the shifts we have every week,
Mhm.
you have to have a big group so everybody can have a flexible schedule. And
Mm.
everybody has their season. If you're playing football, you're not working for me. I mean,
Yeah.
that for those months,
That's right.
there's no time in your schedule to do it.
Yeah.
And
That's
Yeah.
right.
honestly, I wouldn't want you to. I would want you to focus on that. And then when you
Yeah.
have the margin to focus on work, I want you to be able to focus on work. I don't want you to
Yeah.
try to do too much, because the reality is you're probably going to choose football because that's what you really love to do. And I don't want
Yeah.
them to make that choice. I want them to be able to
Yeah.
do both. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah. In other words, if they're going to be with you, be with me.
yeah.
Correct.
That's really,
Yes.
really good. John, you know this, but one of the focus groups of the 13 focus groups I had was you. You
Yes.
sent me some young Gen Zers. Many of them were team leaders, shift leaders, or
Mhm.
whatever, and they talked about how the environment is caring for the
Yeah.
people, and meaning that the fellow employees, not just the customers. You do have second mile service for the customers, but I loved hearing those, and your daughter was one of them, said, "Yeah, we try to care for each other," which definitely is a differentiator when I think about other quick service restaurants.
Yeah.
It is different
Well, thank
for
you.
sure.
I appreciate that. Yeah, Olivia is my daughter, and she's great. She's worked all the way through high school. My older daughter Hannah is out of college now, and she worked at Chick-fil-A all the way through high school. And it feels a lot for my high school senior. I mean, she's
Mhm.
president of the FCA, and she's in the
Wow.
drama program, and she's applying to
Yeah.
schools, and she's taking the ACT, and then she volunteers at a local veterinary clinic because that's what she wants to do with her life, and she's
Yeah.
trying to work at Chick-fil-A. And
Yes. Yes.
so, and I don't want any of those things to go away because they're all
Yeah.
awesome. So
Yeah.
I have to really be willing for my daughter and all of my team members to
Yeah.
allow them to have a significant life outside of Chick-fil-A if they're going to continue to work there.
Yeah, that's good.
Yep.
Awesome.
And we talk a lot about that relationships are the foundation to leadership, that people won't go along with you unless they get along with you. And so you demonstrating that care, and I wrote that down, take care of your team so your team take care of the guest. And I think as we look at even our listeners out here, maybe they're in a corporate environment somewhere, they might sit in a big Fortune 100 financial company, or they might be a nonprofit. It doesn't matter. As long as we're taking care of our team members, they'll take care of the customers.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
true. Yep.
I
So
Yep.
I
love
think
And
that.
that's the
I think
whole that's the whole deal, honestly. I mean, it makes, it makes my job easier. It makes my life less stressful when it comes to running the business, because it's a complicated business with a lot of moving parts. But I don't know. I feel like this job specifically that's where I get the most like joy out of what I
Yes.
do,
Yeah.
is being able to, to do something special for a team member, or be there when they graduate high school, or be at their
Mhm.
college graduation even, or see them go on and become a police officer or a doctor
Yeah.
or work at the Chick-fil-A corporate office, whatever it is,
Yeah.
like to see them to move on is really kind of where a lot of the joy comes from.
Good. John, I would love to close out our conversation with just letting you tell a story or two. I think stories encourage listeners. So tell a story or two of how maybe a Gen Z or a young team member really paid off and really did some good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a lot over the years, and great team members. And currently, a good story that comes to mind as an example of just what an impact a Gen Z can have on your business is I have two high school team members that work for me. Probably been with me for less than a year, so they got past the beginning crazy stages of, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff going on here, and
Yeah.
they saw what we were all about and stayed with us. Um, Both of them in the last year, we kind of went back through and revamped our training program internally, specifically for the front of the house. So the iPads outside and the dining room and everything that we do, and just tried to do better, deeper training than we were doing before.
Yeah.
And it's there's a big value in these two team members becoming part of our training crew,
Mm.
and their ability to train other high school kids
Yeah.
is so much better than any of probably even my leaders could do, because they just
Yeah.
get it. They know what they need to hear.
Mhm.
They know what they need to see. They know that they don't need to repeat that, but they might need to repeat this. And I mean, we've had several new hires within the last month that have gone through training with them that actually commented like how good the training was, and how
Wow.
Mhm.
how prepared they felt coming out of training. Which is huge. That's what you want. You don't want to, if you want a high school student not to stick around, then just throw them to the wolves and don't prepare them, and they'll leave pretty
Yeah.
quickly. So the
Yeah.
better we can prepare them, the more likely they're going to want to do their job, because they feel like I have the skills to do this. And honestly, I didn't honestly see it, the high school training high school. I really didn't, and kind of a couple of my trainers, my leader trainers, kind of came up with the idea, and it's been really, really good. And and it kind of gives those high performing Gen Z high school kids that work for you kind of a bump up to the next level.
Yeah.
They're probably not going to be a director level at my restaurant opening and closing the store, because they don't have the time for it. But they have the margin to be able to do some training shifts and stuff like that.
Yeah. That's so good. This is so good.
Okay. John, thank you so much for being with us here today at Generations at Work. Tim, as always, if you are interested in learning how to make Gen Z a competitive advantage in your workplace, visit us at maxwellleadership.com/generations at work. Get in touch with us. We'd love to come and help you design a program that will fit your workplace, where we focus on the strengths, not the weaknesses, which is really the focus of chapter 3 in The Future Begins with Z. And you can go to thefuturebeginswithz.com for a lot of free bonus materials as you order Dr. Elmore's new books, as we look at strategies to lead this generation. Thank you for being with us here today on Generations at Work, where our goal is to build bridges and not walls between the different generations in the workplace. We'll see you next time.